All right, shifting gears right over to the top 5 players returning for our Clemson Tigers. Jordan, I'll let you go ahead and take the reins on this one first. Who's your number one top 5 player or top player returning to the Clemson Tigers for the 2025 season?
Yeah, this was obviously more difficult to do than
Yeah.
than the top five leaving. But my number one player, returning. Obviously that you know didn't know if you were going to that. The way I did it was I picked players that we knew were that had the opportunity to leave, and,
Right.
and not,
Yeah.
I don't mean like transfer and all that. I mean like they could have gone to the NFL. Um,
Yes.
so my number one's going to be Cade. I think that's the quarterback, most important player, going one of the front runners, early preseason for the Heisman. Obviously, was a lot of the reason why you won 10 games and made the playoff and won the ACC. Like I think that's a pretty no brainer first choice.
Yeah. I mean, look, he's the guy that really has the biggest effect on the field, on the team. I mean, quarterback is the most important position on any football team. So Cade Klubnik makes a lot of sense there. Definitely had a legitimate shot to go to the NFL this past season. This is not particularly a heavy quarterback class. He would have definitely been drafted. Where he would have been drafted, I don't know. What his NFL grade was, again, I don't know. But I'm certainly happy that the 110 Society um, and the donors at Clemson were able to get him back for his senior season and have another go round, because the numbers that he put up in 2024 were really good. Almost 500 yards rushing, I think 7 touchdowns on the ground, um, you know, 36 touchdowns, passing touchdowns,
Yep.
3,600 yards through the air. So I mean, he had a really really good season, um, and just transformed into a completely different quarterback over the course of a season. And expect him to take another step forward. Um, he was my number one as well. So I'll go ahead and give you my number two. Antonio Williams, I think is probably outside of quarterback the biggest get for the Clemson Tigers as far as legitimate people that could have left for the NFL and made a lot of money and probably had a really successful career. But we get him back for another season. You saw the season he put up this past year, just shy of 1,000 yards. Just breakout year after that freshman campaign. He comes back his sophomore year is just riddled with injuries. Can't stay on the field. Pretty much lost him for the entire season. Comes back his junior season this past year and absolutely balled out game in, game out. The model of consistency, the guy that Cade can always look to and know that Antonio Williams is going to get open. If given time, he's going to get open. So um, really big. Couldn't be overstated how big it is to have an Antonio Williams back.
100%. He's my number two as well for all the reasons you stated. He's a senior leader in that wide receiver room. Has really developed into a really complete football player. And again, he's going to be the leader in 2025, and he's going to be able to bring up the two young studs that are nipping at his heels too. So that'll be really exciting to see and see how those three, that room in general grows together. So
Absolutely. I'll let you go ahead and give your number three.
yeah, my number three is going to be Blake Miller at right tackle. Just been the model of consistency over the last few years, and so big to have him back for a fourth year. He could have gone to the league. He had a second, third round grade, I believe. Chose to come back, and I think that's big. And there's
Huge.
and so with the continuity that you're going to have on the offensive line, he's going to be at the forefront of that, and massive to get him back.
Yeah, I mean, Blake Miller was my number three as well. I think that's a no brainer. Again, another big retention guy for the Clemson Tigers. And I think really we've talked about it in shows past that the name of the game in college football is going to become retention. That's going to be the number one recipe for whether you're a contender year in and year out, or you're kind of up and down, kind of a yo-yo effect of a program. It's not just enough to recruit the highest level talented guys from the high school ranks. I think even more important and that is super important, but even more important than that is being able to retain the guys once you have them on campus, because NIL and the transfer portal and all the tampering that happens throughout all of college football is crazy. So to have the ability to be able to retain guys like a Blake Miller and Antonio Williams, a Cade Klubnik is huge. Because do you think people didn't call Cade Klubnik this offseason and offer him money to go other places? Guarantee you they did. There are teams out there that would pay him how much at $4 million? What did Carson Beck get? $4 million?
Something like that, yeah.
They would pay Cade Klubnik just enough, if not more, to go be their quarterback. So getting a guy like Blake Miller back, anchoring that offensive line at the tackle position opposite Tristan Lay over at the other tackle position, I mean, it's huge. Year 2 of Matt Luke. Blake Miller, I mean, he's been a day one dog since the day he walked on campus, and has performed and it's gotten better each and every year. I can't wait to see him year 2 under Matt Luke. It's going to be even better, and that's a guy you needed to get back in order to have the year that this roster is capable of. It's an important piece. I know people don't look much at offensive line as like those make or break players, but he's one of those guys that you needed to get back this year.
Yeah, 100%. It's just, it makes everything easier to have that continuity there. And he's going to give you really good football at the same time. So, yeah. What are we, number 4?
Number 4.
Yeah. Number 4. All right. So my number 4 went back and forth. I went with Wade Woodaz as my number 4. I think just because you have so much inexperience and question marks at linebacker, but Wade he's the definitive leader in that group, and excited for the coaching changes, with Tom Allen and obviously Ben Boulware taking a bigger step, taking more of a hands-on part of the linebacker position. I expect improvement as far as that the level of play is concerned, and obviously the potential of Sammy Brown is through the roof, and if you can develop some more depth behind them with more experienced with a more experienced guy running the helm, I think that's that you have a chance to get really good football out of them. So, but yeah, Wade Woodaz, he's going to be the senior leader of this defense now. He's going to be the guy that's responsible for a lot, and so I think I went with him. But it was between him and, well, we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Wade Woodaz is a great pick there. Makes a ton of sense. You talk about the loss of a Barrett Carter. It's important to retain a guy like Wade Woodaz when you lose a guy like Barrett Carter, because as good as Sammy Brown was this season, he's just going to be a sophomore. He's still got a lot of football to learn, and having that veteran guy in the room and a Wade Woodaz that has just played a ton is going to be invaluable to that room, because we talked about, we got Wade Woodaz, we got Sammy Brown. We know what we have in those two guys. After that, we really don't know. So, you got the portal guy and Jeremiah Alexander coming in. You have Kobe McLeod coming back off of injury. Jamal Anderson. Which guy's going to step up? But having a veteran guy in that room is going to just help those younger guys, those inexperienced guys, to take that next step. So huge get in Wade Woodaz there. Number 5 for me was Damonte Capehart. I put him on my list, even though he wasn't official yet. I just assumed that he was going to be official. I didn't see any reason why the NCAA wouldn't grant him another year. And with him working out with the team and being enrolled in school, he had already made his decision. He was just waiting on, was he officially allowed to play according to the NCAA. And that news comes down, 10 minutes ago. So Damonte Capehart, number 5 on my list. I think it just solidifies that defensive line, right? That front four that are going to roll out there first. Man, it just beefs it up a ton, and it just gives you a space eater in there and another guy to rotate in and out and really just lean on and affect the offensive lines as the season goes on. So, and I look for him to have a fully healthy, great season because that's what he needs. That's what he deserves. And that's ultimately what's going to help him go make a lot of money in the NFL because I promise you that guy's going to go have a very successful NFL career, but super happy that the Tigers got him back for one more.
Yeah. He was my number 5 as well. Especially since, you lost 2 guys off that 2 deep and Trey Williams and Peyton Page. So like it's big to bring him back. Like we are excited about the prospects of Stefan Green and Vic Burley.
Yep.
And you still got Heaven Brown Schuler and you got some pieces there, but bringing back Damonte Capehart means you don't have to force them to those guys to be big time contributors early. I think Stefan Green will be that. I think he'll definitely be that third guy in the rotation.
Yes.
When he played this year, he just popped off the screen, like he jumped out to you. And like you guys, and those of you that have been watching, how I felt about Stefan Green for a long time. He was my favorite in that 2023 class.
You've been hyping him up since he signed with Clemson. Well, before he signed with Clemson, but
I think his potential is through the roof. So I think bringing back Damonte means that you get to rotate guys in, not have to force. You don't need those younger guys to play big time snaps if they don't need to, and obviously the depth and all of that factors in as well. So like you said, Damonte deserves a healthy season, man. He's stuck it out, man. He's his road at Clemson was not the smoothest. He came in as a top 50 player, top 100 player, lots of talent. In a loaded defensive line class, he came in the 2020 class with Brian Brzee and Miles Murphy and those guys. Like he had to sit and wait his turn. Like he was not as ready to go as those guys were, and obviously there were already experienced defensive linemen that were there. You had the Tyler Davises of the world that were still there. Like he had to marinate. And obviously injuries affected that as well. He suffered a lot of injuries early in his career. So he was behind the 8 ball and had to, essentially wait his turn before he was really ready to take that next step. And so now it's just for him, it's just about staying healthy because, dude, like when his eye pop, like when his eye popping plays are eye pop. Like I will never forget him manhandling that Notre Dame center last year, like just completely ragdolling him and single-handedly blowing up like that. Like the power in his hands is stuff you can't, like that's not coachable. That's just God-given ability. Like probably like the strongest hands on the team, maybe second only to Peter Woods. Like he's that guy. So like I think like with a fully healthy season and a full a fully healthy season with great tape, could certainly vault him up the draft boards because I feel like that was it. He had the opportunity to do that this year, and it didn't work out for him because of the injuries. So
he kind of reminds you of why is the name slipping my mind?
Xavier Thomas.
Yes, XT. Thank you. Kind of reminds you of his kind of journey at Clemson and how came in as such a highly recruited guy, really a 3-and-done, guaranteed off to the NFL, right? Off to bigger and better things. And, for a litany of reasons, it didn't work out that way, right? Injuries, sickness, developing at different speeds, all sorts of things. But similar to XT, stuck it out, right? Trusted the process at Clemson, trusted the coaches, and And I really hope, much like XT's last year when he came back, one of my favorite Clemson players, and had an amazing year, right, and off to the NFL and doing great things. Similarly, I hope that's how Damonte Capehart's final season ultimately works out for him.
100%. Yep.
A couple honorable mentions for me, because I took the same approach that you did, was players that could have left for the NFL, not via transfer portal, but a couple honorable mentions that could have left via transfer portal that probably got offered quite a bit of dough and turned it down ultimately to stay at Clemson. TJ Parker, Peter Woods, Sammy Brown. You could list a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
TJ Moore,
and Brian. Yeah, the list gets, which is why it was good we limited it, because then we would be like, it would have been tough to parse through all that. It's like, okay, well, right. So Cade will probably be number one, and then beyond that, like, I don't, like, you could have.
So I'm glad we took the same approach to our list with sticking to guys that could have left for the NFL. But shout out to all those guys that could have left for more money at another program and chose to stay with the Clemson Tigers. So those are honorable mentions for me.
Yeah, 100%. All those guys. Yeah, you mentioned TJ, Peter, the Wesco, Moore.
Yeah,
the list goes up. Even some of the true freshmen that we really at different times popped off. You got Elijah Thurman, starting, taking snaps at left tackle before he tears his. Like, I'm excited about him as well, and didn't mention him. Like, they're good. This roster has a lot of really good pieces on it, and that's why we feel the way we do about this team heading into 2025, and that's it's a sign that, hey, like, the struggles the past few seasons have not been solely because you've been deficient in talent, because you certainly have not. In areas, but like the roster as a whole is still in great and right now I think it's in the best shape it's been, since probably 2019, 2020.
Yeah. Yep.
So
for sure.